Hello and welcome to the Make Happiness Happen podcast. I'm your host, Shelly, and first off, Happy New Year and welcome to 2024. Today, I have a question for you. Do you think it's true that as we age, we shift from our right brain to our left brain, from our creative brain to our logical brain? Let's take a few minutes and talk about it. Hi, I'm Shelly Covert, and I have a question for you. Are you tired of putting on a fake smile and pretending you're happy when you're really not? Are you ready to stop chasing happiness and create it instead? This world we live in makes us believe we need something newer or bigger or better to be happy. But guess what? That's not real happiness. I'm going to teach you what I've learned about creating real, authentic happiness. So if you're ready to stop faking it and be happy for real, you're in the right place. This is the Make Happiness Happen podcast. I'm reading a book called Do It for a Day by Mark Batterson. And in this book, he talks about how studies have shown that as we age, our cognitive center of gravity shifts from our right brain to our left brain. Now, I know this is going to be a bit of an oversimplification, but generally speaking, our right brain is thought to be our creative brain, and our left brain is our logical brain. And Mark Batterson talks about how this poses a problem, like as we transition from this creative brain to logical brain, because we tend to stop living out of imagination and we start living out of our memory. Okay, so we stop creating the future and instead we kind of start to repeat the past. We stop living by faith and we start living by logic. And then that is when we really kind of stop living altogether and just start dying in a way. And that's kind of a morbid thought, but I did think that for a new year, that was kind of an interesting thing to think about, because many of us at the beginning of a new year, we set a resolution or we set some goals, things that we want to accomplish in 2024. And I know every single year I set New Year's resolutions or goals. But my question for you is, how many times have you found that you're setting the same goal year after year, right? I'm raising my hand here because that usually happens. So why is that? Okay, well, for me, I think I tend to lose focus, or I lose maybe dedication to those goals. Maybe it's because at the beginning of the year, it feels like I have so much time to accomplish those goals. And then as we kind of progress through the year and I haven't made the progress that I feel I should have, it's just easier to kind of give up or change my focus and do something different. Now, I've also learned by taking the Clifton Strengths report, I have found that my strengths tend to be ones coming up with new ideas and kind of jumping into those new ideas. I really enjoy that. But I don't always have the strengths that lead to really the follow through. I have to work a little bit harder, so that's not as much fun, right? I think we often, a lot of times, kind of become comfortable with where we're at and maybe even complacent at times, right? It's easier to just let things remain the same versus working to change them. Now, I also wonder if that has a little something to do with that shift from right brain to left brain. I feel like, especially for me right now, I've kind of had this urge to get back into creative things, but it feels like it's taking a little more brain power to do that, right? So I've always been a person that enjoys creative things. I've done so many things. I've done knitting and I've done quilting and I like planting flowers and I've done scrapbooking and, I can't even name all the creative things that I've done. But I haven't done as many of those lately, right? And I have a birthday coming up this week, and it kind of got me wondering if I'm feeling my age a little bit, right? Or if I'm kind of am transitioning from right brain to left brain. Now, I don't want you to think that I'm saying being logical is a bad thing. I don't think that's bad at all. I think we need that. And I think it makes a lot of sense for us to become even more logical as we age, because we really do have less time to do things. And so we have to be wise with our time. We have to be wise with our money. But that doesn't mean that we have to let that logic completely take over. That doesn't mean we have to give up on creativity, right? And I really do think that by letting our creative juices flow, I think that's even more important as we age. because I find that the creative things in life bring me more joy. They add more color to my life, more happiness to my life. The colors in a sunrise and the beauty of the flowers and, going to a museum and looking at the artwork and all those kind of creative things, they add joy to my life. And I think that's very important, especially as we're aging. So this year for my goal, I have decided as a resolution, I'm going to work on my creativity and things that I enjoy doing. And I kind of want to challenge you to do this as well. So for 2024, I want to challenge all of us to just be more creative, to find something that brings joy, something that makes you smile, and then create a habit out of it. Okay, so it could be maybe baking. Maybe you want to try a new pie or a new cake or just kind of perfect your baking skills. I actually recently started extracting my own vanilla. So, something fun that's not art and things like that, but it's just something kind of creative, right? Maybe you want to get into quilting or drawing or painting. Maybe you want to start thinking about a beautiful flower garden that you want to design for spring. Maybe you want to create some jewelry or do some crocheting or knitting. Whatever that is, think about what is something that maybe you tried when you were younger, or maybe it's something you've never tried at all and you've always wanted to. But what is something that you could do that would kind of use your creative brain or use your right brain? So I recently decided to try painting. In my Facebook ads, I had this painting class pop up. I actually may have already told you about this on the podcast. I can't remember, but after a few attempts, I was at my dining room table. My cats climbed all over the table. They almost stepped in the paint. They were walking on my paint brushes. It just was kind of more stress than relaxation, right? I decided that maybe that wasn't the best option, and I instead switched to a digital option. So I have been using an app called Procreate on my iPad, and I really am enjoying it. It's an app that I can draw with, or I can paint with. I can just kind of create art like I would on paper, but without the mess. Now, I'm not really good yet, but I am enjoying the process of getting better. I found a couple of online classes and I signed up for one, and I'm just kind of going through with some YouTube videos, things like that, and really working on getting better at that. And I find that it is bringing some joy into my life, or bringing more joy into my life. It's making me happy. It's helping to kind of relieve some of the stresses that, I've been feeling. And, who knows? Maybe next year you'll all get a Christmas card that I hand designed. Who knows? But that's kind of my goal, is that I can improve my abilities, my art ability, and maybe create something like that I could make. Because there is something about seeing our own creation, seeing something that we have designed or built or created, and you get that feeling of satisfaction, that feeling of accomplishment. It brings a smile to my face. And I think that is really, really good for us, especially at the beginning of the year, to think through that. Now, a lot of times at the beginning of the year, we think we have all this time. And so we want to set a goal, but we don't really want to start it right away, right? Because we're like, oh, I've got so much time. And that's what happens to me almost every year. So this year, I challenge you, spend some time this week thinking about what is that something creative that you could explore. What was something maybe that you did as a kid that you've stopped doing? Maybe something that you wanted to do when you were younger and you weren't ever able to try it, but figure out what that one thing is that you want to do that's going to help you use your creative brain, and then turn it into a habit. Okay, so tell yourself each week you're going to spend a little bit of time working on that. I've set a goal for myself that each week I'm spending at least a couple hours working on something in Procreate. So set a goal for yourself. Maybe all you can do right now is 1 hour a week, but that's 1 hour a week that you wouldn't have given to yourself, right? This is kind of that self-love time. This is that time that you need to refill your tank. It's good to focus on yourself because it makes you better even then for others. So we've got to give ourselves this time. We've got to give ourselves this chance to kind of de-stress, and creativity, I think, is really going to help with that. So take some time, figure out what it is you want to do, what's the creative thing you're going to do, and then decide how much time you're going to allocate to that each week. Make that your goal for 2024, and let's get started right away, and then commit to sticking to that all year long. And then I'm really curious to see what we're going to all have created at the end of the year. Now, on some of the places where you listen to the podcast, you're able to add comments. So I would love to know what it is you chose to do, what thing you were creative with. And if you're not able to do that and you still want to share, then drop me an email. My email is shelly@makehappinesshappen.com. Drop me an email. I would love to know what it is that you are doing or what you're going to do to really work your right brain, your creative brain this year. So until next time, my friends, choose your creative and choose to be happy. As always, thank you so much for tuning into the Make Happiness Happen podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen to podcasts. And even better, leave a positive review. If you want to dive deeper into the topics and discussions we have here, I would encourage you to head over to makehappinesshappen.com and sign up for my newsletter. It's the best way for us to get to know each other even better. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time on the Make Happiness Happen podcast.